is for training purposes in TV news education. Some copyrighted material is used and is credited on screen. However, no more was taken than was necessary to tell the story of the event. YBA claims fair use of material.
To Wicked Teen, I'm Evan Berkowitz, and the first day of school is right around the corner, which means some are headed right back to college or to college for the first time. And they could be spending as much as they would spend on a nice car for that year of tuition. Here to help me decode the world of college admissions is Mr. Larry Dannenberg, who is the founder and owner of a company called College Solutions, which is out of Framingham and helps find the right fit for students and their families. Now, Larry, let's get right into it. As the first day of school is right around the corner, what should juniors like myself and seniors like Daniel and Julia be thinking about as we go into the year?
Well, the first thing all of you should realize is that colleges began looking at all of you once you left 8th grade. And a lot of the decisions you made are dictating what interest the college will have in you. So you need to consider what you've done, and you need to consider what you could do in the future that the colleges would find interesting, but more importantly, you would enjoy.
And what can sophomores and even younger, you're saying that they should be thinking about that they're not exactly applying, but should they find a definite interest, or what do you think they should be doing?
Well, one thing is that students should be taking the most rigorous course load that they can handle. So the colleges are going to weight your grades above anything else. They're going to look at the strength of the curriculum you've been taking. So that means taking honors courses more than college prep if you can handle it, and AP courses if you can handle that. So the colleges are looking at that, but they're also looking at how you're investing the 24 hours, 7 days a week you have in outside activities. They're not looking for the well-rounded student. They're looking for a student that is passionate about something and wants to make a difference.
Now, you mentioned that high workload that they can handle. How do you make sure that you're doing all that you can? Well, we've seen recently the effects of high levels of stress on these students. How do you make sure that you're not so focused on doing as much as possible that you're losing sight of a passion to do in your spare time?
What you need to do is you need to focus on what you enjoy. So if you enjoy history, take the more rigorous course loads in history. If you enjoy math, then focus there. But also think of where can you apply those interests. For example, we've had students as freshmen who have ended up at MIT in the physics lab studying dark matter. Those are freshmen in high school. We've had kids as sophomores at Harvard doing stem cell research. There was a movie out recently, Moneyball, with Brad Pitt as the lead. We had a student who was writing the briefing book for Brad Pitt. So those are all things that a student can do. The challenge is to dream as big as you can. And the earlier you start to realize that, the better off you are. And Young Broadcasters of America is a good example of where students start to dream and realize what they can achieve.
And at College Solutions, what services do you offer for students and their families?
All right, well, what we do is we'll start with students at the end of 8th grade. And about 40% of our clients are siblings of existing clients. And we'll look at course selection, activities, internships, things the student would enjoy. We also go ahead and work with families to understand the economics of college and whether or not they're going to be need-based or whether or not they should be looking for merit money. We'll work with families through that. In their 9th grade year, we look at courses, activities. 10th grade, same type of issues. 11th grade, we'll start to look at who are you going to get recommendations from, what types of outside activities you're doing that are truly differentiating yourself. And at the end of 11th grade, we will start applications. So 70% of our students are already done with their common applications and all their essays and are ready to apply to college. And many already have applied to college, even though college applications, a lot of people don't start until September.
Now, that's a lot of stuff. That's very comprehensive. How much do these services cost?
Well, our fee's expensive. It's $3,800. And it's a one-time fee. It's the same whether we start with a freshman or a senior. And through that, we'll also coach students on doing interviews. We have admissions officers that come to our office to do interviews. So The sooner you start, the sooner the student starts to become engaged in the process, which is critical to make sure that they find the right fit. Because if they end up transferring, like 27% of the college freshmen do, their courses may not all transfer. So that means they're going to pay for an extra semester or an extra year of college. That's going to cost an extra 15 to 20% more, because the cost of college goes up at about twice the rate of inflation. It also means they're not working. If they're not working, that means they're not sending money home for their parents' retirement. And that's an important thing to do.
Now, that's very comprehensive. You guys sure do a lot. But that is a hefty price tag for some in these tough economic times. What do you advise that people who might not have the means enough to hire your company but still want to get the most out of their college and their high school experience, what do you advise that they do?
Well, one, they can follow us on our blog and Facebook and Twitter and see what we're recommending. But the most important thing is to go ahead and focus on their academics and focus on their passions. There's a ton of resource materials. There's Princeton Review, which comes out every year, which will tell you about the colleges, but they need to start to put thought into the right college for them. Not all colleges are the same. It's not like high school, where many of the high school they've seen seem pretty similar. The colleges are very different. If you look at Emerson, that's right in the city, that has a great communications program, that's very different than if you're looking at Colby, Bates, or Bowdoin, which are up in Maine, which some students would assume that they're going to be bored at, but the reality is nobody's ever bored at those schools. There's way too much going on.
And on your website, we're going to show a graphic. You say, quote, that parents believe the myth that if their income is too high, ... they won't qualify for financial aid. What do you mean by that?
Well, lots of times people will assume that they have too many assets or too much income. And that really depends on not only the specifics of that family, but also the college they're looking at. So for example, some colleges will count the equity in their house. Other colleges won't count the equity in their house. If they have a business, how is that going to be counted? What income is going to be counted? What assets are going to be counted? How many children do they have in college? And that's based on need, but there's also merit money. So some schools are great with merit money. Some schools don't have merit money. Tufts has no merit money. The Ivy Leagues have no merit money. Their idea of need is a lot more generous than a lot of state schools. So we have many students who will end up at a private school for less money than they would at a state school.
And that brings me into something else I want to talk about. On your website, you are very oriented into the private four-year universities, less so in the state schools. Because of that reason, could you explain some of your views on that?
All right. One, let me be clear, I don't have a bias towards one or the other. One of my children went to UMass Amherst. At 27, he's been at the top of his profession for a number of years, so I can't complain too loudly. My daughter went to a private school. One of the things you need to understand is, what are you looking for in a college and what is it going to offer you? Part of it's economics, part of it's the environment you're looking for, and the other piece is the graduation rate. So for example, we had one student this past year who was very interested in some schools in the South, large state institutions, but when she and her family looked at the graduation rates and saw that only 20% of the students were graduating at the end of 4 years, she didn't want to go to school where only 1/5 of the population would be graduating in 4 years, and mom and dad weren't interested in paying for 5, 6, or 7 years of college.
Now, let's get over to here, to my co-hosts here. Daniel goes to a public school and Julia goes to a private school. Would you approach them differently if they came to you asking for help in the college admissions process?
Well, what I do is I go ahead and look at each of you as individuals. Where you go to school is one factor, but really what's more important is what type of environment do you want? Do you want a situation where you will have several hundred students in the same class, such as you might have at McGill? Or would you rather get to know your faculty and your students and have smaller classes, such as you would at Pitzer in California?
All right. How do you keep students' interests at heart while still keeping the financial aid goals of the parents relevant? Because a student might have big dreams, but that aren't necessarily in reach. How do you keep that in a happy medium?
Actually, usually the biggest challenge is getting mom and dad to understand the reality of the economics. Most students, when they understand that mom and dad love them, but they're totally capable of doing something stupid, will not want mom and dad to do something stupid. So they will understand that economics are part of this, because as you said at the beginning of this piece, the cost of college is the price of a car, a really nice car, every year.
And one last question. Who would you say in your profession you find that you're talking to more? Are you talking a lot more with the students or with the parents, or is it case by case?
Well, what I do is we offer a free consultation for both parents and the students, and we sit and we talk about the process they've been in since they left 8th grade and how the colleges are going to look at them. And then I'll interview the student. I make the parents sit there and listen. I have duct tape for the difficult parents. And usually the parents start to realize the student has a voice. In many cases, the students realize they have a voice. So as we go through the process, we try to make sure that the student recognizes their voice and can speak clearly about what they want and understand that there are trade-offs that are going to have to be made. And they may be around economics, they may be around family issues, because in some cases there's family concerns regarding health or personalities that say where they want a child to go to college.
Well, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you,
Larry
Ellen.
Dannenberg.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll have more from Wicked Teen right after this. I'm Evan Berkowitz, YBA News, Natick.